In this week's show, EVs pay as you go, Toyota run on cooking oil, Ford and GM no steering wheel, no brake pedal, Renault converts, Mahle says the aftermarket is up by 18.5%, Minister for Transport Eamon Ryan on initiatives to help people to buy EVs. Hello, my name's Paul Callan and welcome to this week's MotorZen News. The line that we hear being put out there all the time is EV's not going to work, not enough charge points, and they're too expensive. And yeah, I think when you're looking at the target they're setting and you look at the price of the cars and you look at the average consumer, you're thinking, yeah, there's a problem. Well, Stellantis, which is Peugeot, Citroën, Opel, Vauxhall, Fiat, all that group, Stellantis are introducing a rental program. For a down payment, and they're not saying what that down payment is. You can have an E208 Peugeot or an E Corsa, and it will cost you €110 per month, and it's 7 cents per kilometre after that. What Stellantis are saying is they're doing this to their goal is to accelerate the adoption of EVs. Oh, by the way, you can have to do a minimum of 500 kilometres a month also. And then because the car is connected over the air, you can't trick around with the kilometres because the kilometre record is instantly going back to the manufacturer as you do it. But the more I look at this and the more I try and work this out, I'm thinking to myself, this is just another way of getting people into owning a vehicle via subscription. So I think that they're dressing it up as being very environmentally friendly, but really, yeah, it is a very expensive thing to get people into an EV car. And what they're going to do is convince people that the only way to do this is in a monthly payment, but not in that way. They're going to do it as it's been a good environmental thing to do, but effectively you've got someone now who's on a subscription for a car, so therefore access to that car from the independent sector becomes impossible. They're going to roll it out in France. They are rolling it out in France currently, and it's going to roll out across Europe in the next year or so. Toyota diesels, which effectively really only is Land Cruiser, Hilux and Pro-Ace. From July, from this month on, all Toyota diesels are going to be HVO 100 compatible, and HVO is a non-fossil fuel made from waste cooking oil effectively. So you can run your Land Cruiser, Hilux or van on this HVO 100. I haven't seen anything of it here in Britain or Ireland. There might be a variation of it along the border, but it's certainly not legitimate or legal. But in Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Netherlands, Norway and Sweden, they reckon there's about 1,000 service stations with this HVO 100 available. No discernible changes in the vehicle or the running of the vehicle. Currently there's 4 million tons of this type of fuel being used at the moment, and they are aiming, the target is that they will be using 15.5 million tons by 2030. Staying with Toyota have just taken, for the first half of this year, they've taken 7.6% of the European market. That's the biggest market share they've ever had. And this is interesting because certainly when in Ireland in the last couple of years, we were seeing how badly Toyota were doing, and it's a pity that they have no range and they have no diesel vehicles available. Goes to show you the long-term strategy and the vision of the company, in that, you know, they were probably the first to ditch diesel. And really, when everyone else was saying, well, I can't go to the Toyota dealer to buy a vehicle because they don't have a diesel, now they're really getting a market share based on their hybrids and their EV vehicles. So biggest market share they've ever had in Europe at 7.6%. GM and Ford in the US are seeking approval for autonomous vehicles with the National Highway Transport Safety Authority, NHTSA as it's known. Both of them want about 2,500 vehicles, no steering wheel, no pedals. It's the maximum they're allowed to put out under the current law is 2,500. These are going to be ride hailing and for delivery. So again, we we see that Mercedes were getting some degree of autonomous approval in Europe. This is the next level again. This is completely no steering wheel, no brake pedals. These cars are starting to be rolled out across America if they get the approval, which they reckon they will. You've made it to the middle point again. Thanks for that. So if you could like, comment and subscribe, it'd be great. Thank you. We spoke about this story some time before, and we're getting a little bit more detail now as to what it is or how it works. Renault are saying that they're going to start converting older vehicles, existing vehicles that are out there. They're going to start off with ICE engine vans. They're going to bring them back to a plant in France. They're doing this in conjunction with a company called Phoenix Mobility. They're going to convert them to electric. So and the first vehicle they're starting off with is Masters. They reckon they're going to have a retrofit kit for Master available by the end of the year. So this again is another interesting situation where the manufacturer is getting into the aftermarket stroke independent sector because traditionally they never had any dealings with the vehicle after it came off the production line, went to the dealer or got sold, and that was it. So now they're saying we're going to bring some of those vehicles back and convert them to electric, so they see some opportunity in doing this type of thing. Mahle, which is a company that we speak about a lot, obviously making the transition to electric motors. We spoke about them last week, but in their aftermarket business, they have a unit which is totally dedicated just to the aftermarket, and they said that things are absolutely super busy in the aftermarket business. They say people are fixing cars, and that's because they can't afford new ones, and that means that parts sales are very, very buoyant. They're saying that their business went up 18.5% last year. So the aftermarket unit within Mahle is seeing real good activity, and so long as used cars remain expensive, they reckon that this area is going to remain strong. So effectively that's the segment that independent workshops are connected to. So you know, in what we can get sometimes caught up in bad news or bad economic news, but with that news is good news. People are holding cars, people need to put parts on cars because they're holding longer, and that's coming from a very big organisation, so that's good data. BMW have developed a concept that allows them to, the moment a car ignition is turned on a car on the production line, it moves itself autonomously around the plant. No drivers. Traditionally, the moment the car can start up, it needs a human being to sit in and drive the car. Now they're saying no. But this technology is not like autonomous. It's actually, the sensors are not so much in the car as the sensors are in the building or on the route. So they've incorporated all the sensors into the factory, into the structures, into the route. So effectively, from the moment the vehicle can start to the moment that the vehicle parks itself in a bay ready for the truck or the train to transport it across the world, across Europe, wherever it's going, it won't need any human being involved with it. At the moment, they're doing this with 7 Series, both electric and ICE, in their Chinese factory, but they reckon they're going to roll this out across all their factories. And if you think about it, it's possibly a massive saving, because how many people do they need to actually carry out the task of driving the vehicle? Now, no people needed to do that, you know. New story from Australia. They're describing as a new era for the aftermarket in Australia. They've introduced a new law which they say is producing a level playing field for the independent workshops, and they assure the customer has got consumers proper competition. So basically this is to do with pass-through technology, with the attempts of manufacturers to lock you out of technology. All data, software, wiring, tech info, EV info, security information is all available through one body, one authority in Australia, Australian Automotive Service and Repair Authority, AASRA for short, is one single location where the Australian aftermarket simply subscribe with the AASRA. It's $90 per technician, and they then access you to all the manufacturers. You don't have to do individual subscriptions to individual manufacturers. So the €90 is for the subscription to AASA on their website, and then they show you the individual pricing. to deal with any particular manufacturer, but it's certainly, in Ireland we've had stories of people try to become get onto the Volkswagen system, for example, and how difficult it is, and it's almost as if they set out to make it unachievable for you because it's set out so difficult. But really, I think they don't have resources within their organisation to work with the independent sector, because I think that's partly, it's not a priority obviously with them, but this organisation says you don't have to worry about that, we do that, you just connect with us, we connect you with them. And then Minister of Transport here, Eamon Ryan, introduced a few things that's probably going to drive forward with the EV thing a little bit. This week they announced that they're going to have an apartment grant, so they're going to give a grant for anyone who has to try and get an EV connection in an apartment. They've changed the home EV grant. Now you can actually get a grant for an EV charger without actually having an EV car. So they're saying, look, we'll help you to ready yourself to get an EV car. And another interesting one, which I think is going to be, it's going to be interesting because you're going to see a lot of commercial vehicles that are EV, and you think, they have gone and bought EV. But actually what the government are doing is they're saying, we're setting up a program that's going to allow companies to have an EV vehicle for a minimum of 3 months. So it's a government initiative that says, right, you can have the van for a minimum of 3 months to see if it suits you, suits your business, suits the type of work you do. So I think for us in the trade, we're going to probably maybe drop our heads a little bit thinking, these guys are all going EV vans. It may not necessarily be the case. They may take an EV van under this scheme. I think they can have them from up to almost 12 months, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to commit to buying them, because they may discover by using this scheme that the type of van doesn't suit their needs. But it's going to certainly create much more activity with EV vans in the Irish marketplace. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. And again, if you haven't already, could you please like, comment and subscribe. See you next week.